On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we give you the latest updates out of OU training camp. Then we break down the preseason AP top 25. And of course, we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, August 14th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of August, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Massive day in the Ikard household, Ted.
Uh-oh.
First day of 3-day preschool for the 3-year-old.
Ooh. Uh-oh. We already had drop off and everything. What's
No,
what's
it's
going on?
afternoon. It's
Afternoon.
afternoon only, but big day. And I won't lie, dude, I'm nervous. I'm not nervous for him. I think he's going to do great. I'm just a little nervous for the entire situation as a whole. I'm more nervous for me and my wife than I am for him. I just hope my wife handles it well. We'll see.
Yeah, the whole drop off thing is interesting. It's like some kids you drop them off and they just kind of like march in there. Here we go. Others, it's the separation. There's a little anxiety there.
I am hoping that he just marches right in there, but we'll see. We'll see. Any
Good.
advice?
Um,
Just act like it's not a big deal is kind of what I'm going with.
yeah.
He's done like a Mother's Day out before, so it's not like I've never dropped him off at a location and left him there with other people. Like that's happened before.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He's been primed, it sounds like, for this. Probably, yeah. Treat it like it's no big deal. I will see you in a little bit. Keep your fingers crossed, I guess.
I appreciate that. All right, enough parenting talk. Let's get into OU football. Brent Venables announced that Jayden Gibson will miss the remainder of the season with a patellar tendon injury.
Hmm.
I don't know what else to say other than this is a huge bummer. Ted, felt like Gibson had really turned a corner as a player and just kind of his presence among the team. I feel like his energy and just how vocal he was. He's a guy that brings some juice every day to the football team. And he was going to be a big factor for this team, whether or not you wanted to call him a starter. Like I viewed him as a starter at one of those outside wide receiver positions. I hate this for him, man. It's a huge bummer, Ted.
Yep, it's brutal. Um, yeah, you're right. He's one of really the guy that brought the edge for the offense. Kind of always on that line. Uh, just he not a loose cannon, but a guy that was like very locked in, always on the edge of scrapping with the defensive backs. Like you need guys like that out there on the field, and he was the guy for the offense. So, man, it's tough. He had a great offseason. All things pointed to him having the best year of his career. It's a setback, but it's just an opportunity for him to like rehab well, continue to mature, watch this team, learn the offense from afar, and hopefully bounce back and have even better opportunity. It sucks though. He is one of if you just picked a handful of guys that you were really excited about for this season? Most people had Jayden Gibson on that list.
We were just really expecting him to make a big jump.
Yep.
It felt like this year was going to be the year where it all just came together for him and his productivity really ramped up. And you look at the rest of the roster, there's not many guys that are 6'5" and can run the way that he can run and are a red zone type of threat the way that he was going to be. So you look around, Ted, and who do you think has to step up now that Gibson's done for the year?
I don't know. It's it's hard whenever you look at it. There's we don't have anyone else that he was kind of a standalone type of player with his size and what he brought to the table. We've got plenty of other talented wideouts, but we don't have any that are really in his mold. We've got some other guys, Carry On's a big dude, but he's a little young. I think it'd be a lot to ask him to step into that role. The guy that's most similar to him, and I watched him some in the scrimmage, was JJ Hester. He's listed at 6'4". I guess I I'm optimistic that he would be able to step into that role, but I also question it. He's been here for quite a while and hasn't really factored in. Is it assuming too much to think that he would be able to step right into that role? I don't know. I mean, you still got you guys like Brennan Thompson. You still got Andrew Anthony trying to come back, but those guys are in a little bit different mold than Jayden Gibson physically. So I don't know. I That's one that time's going to tell, and it may have a little bit of a rotation there to figure out who can be the most consistent player for him.
It's definitely Hester. When you just look at the body type,
Yeah.
about who a guy that's most similar to Jayden Gibson, and you walk out on the practice field, JJ Hester looks fantastic physically. But I think the big question mark for him is, can he stay healthy? That has been the issue, right? His feet. That's
Yeah.
that's what's been the issue since he's gotten to Oklahoma. And if he can be healthy and be available, 6'4" and over 200 pounds looks pretty dang good in that jersey for him.
Yeah.
But it's all about being available for Hester. Is
Yeah.
he as explosive as Gibson? I don't know. It's hard to tell because we haven't seen the guy out there. Have we seen him play a snap in a game?
I don't think so. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, and it's not to say anything negative about JJ Hester. I really haven't had eyes on him all that much. I mean, a handful of plays. I feel like he made a handful of catches in the spring game, but I guess it's hard to make that leap to all of a sudden, feel like he's going to be a plug and play guy. He may be. I don't know, but I can't make that call because I just haven't seen enough of him. And it would almost be a shock to, at this point, he's been here for a while now, and maybe he hasn't had the opportunity. And if now he has a little opening, he can make it. But I mean, I guess it would be pretty surprising if he just stepped right in and became a super productive wideout for us. I'm
Well,
not
I
taking
think
it
it
off
would
the
be,
table.
yeah,
I'd love it.
I think it would be borderline shocking. I mean, this guy's in his fifth year of college football. Remember, he started at Missouri, transferred. It's his third year in the program. He's got one catch at Oklahoma. So to expect that guy, even with as good as he looks physically, he's our best looking wide receiver.
Yeah.
Him and Nick Anderson, there's a debate to be had there. But if you just are looking at the guys physically, it's hard to look much better than JJ Hester looks at the wide receiver position. But it's about how you play. It's about production. And the bottom line is it's really hard to expect a lot of production from a guy that's had one catch since he's been here. I hope it all comes together. Let me make myself perfectly clear. I hope he plays as good as he looks because that would be a fantastic development for Jackson Arnold and for this offense.
Yeah, and I talked about this a little bit about how whenever the news of Jayden Gibson first happened, it's like, well, you've had the feeling all offseason that we're stacked at wide receiver. We got plenty of depth there, but all of a sudden Jayden Gibson goes down. You start to kind of reevaluate. And if you think about it right now, Jayden Gibson is done for the season. Nick Anderson, he's had some of those chronic hamstring issues, so it's hard to just expect you're going to get 12 straight games out of him. Farouk missed all spring. Andrel Anthony's coming off of a knee injury. Brennan Thompson has been in and out availability wise. Right. You start to think about it. It's like, man, I really hope we stay healthy throughout the season because it's not trending in that direction.
Just get him to the season opener, man.
I know it. I know it.
Maybe not even the opener. Get him to week 2.
I
I
just
think we
blue
could get
jersey all the receivers.
yeah, I think we could get through Temple, but you got to have your guys ready to go when Houston comes to town. But that's a great point, Ted. I feel like this is as good as we felt about OU's wide receiver position in a long time. And the bottom line with college football is it's very hard to have like 8 or 9 wide receivers that you feel good about. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, we just all sometimes have unrealistic expectations of what depth at a position that's as competitive as its wide receiver is on the recruiting trail. It's just OU's still in a good spot with Farouk and Anderson, and certainly we haven't even mentioned Deion Burks, who just may be the best player on the entire football team.
Yeah.
But if Anthony can get back, if JJ Hester can give you something, even if it's just a physical presence on the outside as a blocker at the wide receiver position, let's not forget big runs come from wide receiver blocking,
Yeah.
or big runs go to huge runs because of wide receiver blocking. I think Jaquez Petaway is a guy that's going to factor in as well, but none of these guys, a lot of these guys don't have the physical attributes that Jayden Gibson has. And it just makes you wonder going into the season, I thought they were going to, for the majority of the time, be like a 10 personnel, 11 personnel football team. And now it does make you wonder if you're not feeling as good about your wide receiver depth, how do Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley adjust the personnel groupings? Like, do we see a little more versatility when it comes to the personnel groupings, which I am all for? And that is one of the things when when BV announced that Gibson was out for the year, that was one of those things where I went, okay, could we see some more 12 personnel with Jake Roberts and Bauer Sharp now? Could we see some more 21 with 2 backs on the field? Whether that's Barnes and Hicks or Sawchuk and Hicks or Sawchuk and Barnes. It just makes you wonder if this injury makes them reevaluate the personnel groupings they're going to have to put on the field.
Well, I know that currently you feel pretty good about your 2 tight ends. I feel like you've got, 3, maybe 4 running backs that you feel pretty solid about. And if that's where you've got more guys, then yeah, you try and get them in there, get them some more snaps. Um, I don't know. It's just you got to have some guys step up and be consistent, and it's hard in practice. I know they go pretty physical and they scrimmage quite a bit, so they probably have a pretty good feeling of where they're going to go. But the like 11 personnel is different whenever you've got bookend wide receivers that are 6'4" and 6'6", right? You can use those guys in different ways. So, all personnel groupings, like even though it's technically the same, it's really not. So I don't know. That's where your offensive coordinator has to get creative, and they're in a fine spot right now. So probably making too much of it, but it doesn't take very much to happen where all of a sudden you need to start reevaluating what you're doing if you lose more availability from a guy or two.
I especially think that applies to the tight end position. I think they feel really good about Sharp and Roberts. And then it's a bit of a mystery behind those two guys. So, how much 12 personnel? And for those of you that don't understand, 12 personnel means one running back, two tight ends. Sometimes I forget we got to explain our football lingo every once in a
Yeah.
while.
Yes.
I think there are questions about, okay, how much 12 personnel do you want to get in, because those are the only two tight ends you're feeling good about heading into the season. Not that
Is
the
that
other
a
guys
new
aren't going to
thing?
get not that the other guys aren't going to get better. It's just these are, Sharp is in the conversation. Like, he's been one of the most impressive players when I've gone out to practice.
Yeah, he looks great.
He looks fantastic. And the thing I love about him is he's got all of the crazy
Mm-hmm.
that you want from a tight end. He is more than a willing blocker. He appears to enjoy blocking.
He plays hard and physical, got a good physique, got good size to him.
Not to say the other guys aren't playing hard on the offense, but if everyone played with his effort level on the offense, I think we'd feel a lot better about the offense. I mean, he plays extremely hard, and it's every snap. It's like the guy knows one way,
Yeah.
and it's great, and it's fun to watch. But if a guy like Bauer Sharp goes down, then all of a sudden you're looking at that tight end spot going, oh, man. So that is where I do think you look at the running back spot, you're feeling really good about three and maybe even four guys, because let me tell you, Ted, Xavier Robinson looks good. And I know he's a true freshman, and DeMarco Murray doesn't have I wouldn't say he's got a long track record of playing true freshmen at the running back position. But between him and Taylor Tatum, I mean, you're feeling good about two of those young backs, because Robinson, I mean, it looks like he's really settling in at that spot, and he's worked extremely hard on his body. He looks really good physically. He's a bigger back to kind of bring something that the other guys don't necessarily have. And you never know what's going to happen at the running back position. Inevitably, someone's going to get banged up. And I think Xavier Robinson, the way that he's stringing some of these training camp practices together, I think he's earning DeMarco Murray's trust. And I think he's a guy that, if someone does get banged up at that running back spot, I think he's the guy that they're not going to hesitate to put out there on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're going to need some guys like that, especially like through non-con games, where hopefully you've got control of these in the second half. You can give some carries to some young guys, feel confident that they're not going to turn it over, but keep the wear and tear off of the guys that you feel like are going to be your main contributors throughout the season.
BV also said on Tuesday that Kenai Walker has been the most consistent guy at the corner spot so far. Ted, it's never a bad thing when your best looking corner is playing the best.
Yeah.
I mean, 6'2", 205. This guy looks like an NFL corner. That's
Yep.
exactly how you want him to look, especially when you run as much zone coverage and you zone blitz as much as BV and Zach Alley will. That's an extremely encouraging statement from Brent Venables about Kenai Walker.
What I think is most encouraging about it is every time I see Gentry Williams, I think he looks incredible. Kenai Walker always looks good. Des Malone looks good. I think that there's, for the first time in quite a while, you feel like you got quality depth and quality competition going on. And we've had times where we've had good corners there, but feel like, man, you're just kind of hanging on, and if one of those guys were to go down, you're not in a very good spot. But it seems like they've got some good quality competition going on, and multiple corners that can play good quality football.
And I'm not so sure that Eli Bowen isn't right in that conversation. They have
Yeah,
been beyond impressed with what he's doing. And I think that I would be shocked if he doesn't play. I think Jeremiah Newcomb's in that conversation as well. They've been really
yeah.
impressed with what they've seen from him. So, and we haven't even mentioned Woody Washington, a guy that has played an incredible amount of football for OU. So I'm kind of to the point with the corner spot. It's like, how are they going to get all these guys on the field? Like, what's this rotation going to look like?
Yeah. I don't
Jay
know,
Jay
but
Valai's got some tough decisions to make.
yeah. And you got tough decisions to make, but if it's anything like the last couple of years, you're going to need all of them. And I think we've heard that statement from a couple of different coaches, talking about these different, position battles. You're going to need all those guys. Someone's going to go down. Maybe it's for a half, maybe it's for a series, maybe it's for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe it's for the season. You just don't know. But the fact that you've got multiple guys that you're able to trust and are giving you good reps, good competition, it's what you got to have. I mean, we're already seeing it, and it's not just at wide receiver or offensive line for Oklahoma. You see it all the way across the country. It's a war of attrition. This thing, it's a grinding season, and it's not going to be any different this year. Guys are going to go down. The more players you have available, the better.
Yeah, I think that Kirby Smart said something to that effect this week. Basically, that he feels like they've got less and less guys that are ready to go out on the field and play winning football. So it seems like NIL and the new way that college football is working with the transfer portal, that maybe the talent is a little more spread out. I still think Kirby feels very good about his roster, but
Well, I think it's spread out, and I think it in the NFL, guys can move and get up to speed way faster than in college. So even though maybe you have some transfer guys to bridge the gap that are juniors or even seniors, I don't know that you could just plug and play like you feel like you should be able to. There's quite a bit of a learning curve to get those guys up to speed in your system.
fair point. Anything else this week that really stood out about what BV said?
Not really.
I know everyone is. If I feel like there are two main concerns right now, the fan base: Jackson Arnold and the offensive line. I went to practice on Tuesday. Jackson Arnold looks great physically. He does. Took care of the ball with everything that I watched. I know that that's a big concern right now with the fan base. As far as the O line, and I know a lot of people want to know what I think about the offensive line. And very similar to what you said on the last episode, Ted, I can't give really an honest assessment of what they're going to be just because they're a little banged up. They've had several guys miss a practice here, miss a practice there. I haven't gotten to see many snaps at all of the group that I think is going to be running out against Temple and running out against Houston and running out against Tulane. So I'm kind of to the point where, hey, man, just get these guys to game week. Let them work together. Let them grow through the non-conference. And then by the time Tennessee comes to town, we'll see what we got. Health is the biggest thing for the offensive line right now. And luckily, BV said it in his press conference on Tuesday, just bumps and bruises, nothing long-term. That's really good news. But O-line is all about developing that continuity and, kind of learning each other and learning how to communicate verbally and non-verbally and just developing that comfort level going out there and playing with a group of guys. And that's, I'm hoping that that can get developed once this group has everyone available that I think is going to play. We'll
Yeah.
see. I don't know if that's going to make anyone feel better, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, I agree. If you drew it up, it like when you're trying to piece together I shouldn't say piece together. When you're trying to put together an offensive line from young guys, from transfer portal guys, like, availability is critical. You need all those guys in as many practices as possible, especially guys that are playing multiple positions. So, like when you have guys missing time, it really makes it difficult. So that's something that they're just going to have to battle through. Um, I don't know. It does feel like you're ticking short on time, but you got to remember, you've still got time in camp left. Then you got game week. You got 3 weeks of non-conference games, and it's not that they're going to take these guys lightly, but I think we all understand that the level of competition is going to jump up significantly in week 4 over week 1, 2, and 3. You need to be sharp in those games. There's no doubt, but I, nobody should be their peak football team in week 1. All right, it's a constant improvement, and you got to get better and better week by week. So we don't have to win the Super Bowl in Friday night against Temple in the opener. We need to go out, look sharp, put some good stuff on film, learn from some of those opportunities, just keep building and building and hopefully turn into a good football team, 3-4 weeks into the season and start playing some real good ball. It's got to be a process, which is fine. It's like that every year.
I think when you look at the opener, clearly you want everyone to be available. But let's be real. You can get through that game a little undermanned at whatever position you want to talk about. Houston, the talent level, they're not going to have nearly the talent that OU's got, but they're really well coached. We know that. We know that. I mean,
Yep.
Willie Fritz brought a team here only a couple years ago and scared us all to death. And
Thank
then
goodness that quarterback is finally gone.
but no, Willie Fritz is a Houston coach now.
Yeah.
And now but so we've got Houston and Tulane, but it is, you want to, I kind of just look at it, you get through week 1 against Temple, and then you want to look good against Houston and look even better against Tulane. You're kind of ramping up to Tennessee coming to town. So whatever, health wise for every guy on this roster, whatever you got to do to make that formula work, I think that's what the coaches and the training staff and everyone's trying to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they got a lot of work to do. They'll get there though. No panic. I see a lot of panic out there. People are going crazy, which I got to say, one thing that drives me nuts. I was at the scrimmage. I watched. I mean, I maybe left. No, I didn't leave. I watched the entire scrimmage. I watched every single snap of the scrimmage. And I've seen like these scrimmage reports that people have put out. And there's some things in there that are true, but there's other things in there that are flat out wrong. Not like up to interpretation, flat out wrong. It pisses me off that people report on things that they weren't at. You know what I'm saying? And it creates all kinds of panic and questions get thrown around. And I personally get bombarded with stuff that is not true at all constantly.
The head football coach sees that stuff, by the way. Just so y'all are aware. He
Sure
is
does.
he is aware of some of the falsehoods that have been floating around out there. But yeah, I think overall, if the training camp update is Oklahoma's defense is really rounded into form,
Yeah.
and everyone should feel very good knowing that as the season approaches, this is looking like the best defense we've had in I don't know how long. You keep
Yeah.
saying over a decade. I
Yeah.
think that's fair to say.
Yeah. And it, I mean, we've had really good players. We've had highlight players scattered throughout, but this is the first time that you feel like three levels of defense, you're really, really strong at all three levels, which is good.
Only negative thing I'll say about the defense, a couple of those defensive tackles are just short, man. I don't know what else to say. Like Jayden Jackson and Dominic Williams run out there with the first group, and it's like those guys are not very tall. But
No,
I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. It's just one of those things when you're watching from the sideline, you go, those guys just they don't look that big, but dang, they no one's moving them off the football. I know that.
no, that's the funny thing. Like Dominic Williams, if you stand next to him or see him out on the field, does not look like he's 320 pounds. Just flat out does not look like he's 320 pounds. But whenever you see people try and move him off the football, he looks like 320 pounds then. Guy doesn't go anywhere. Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
All right, let's get to caller shot. We asked you guys the most significant news this week for Oklahoma football. I like this first one that comes from John B. Kennedy. He says Javonte Barnes has been the best back. I we haven't been to every practice. I don't know if he's been more productive than Sawchuk in camp, but I can tell you this: he looks awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and the confidence is growing. Like the light came on at some point in the summer. It feels like the light came on for Javonte Barnes. I think he's feeling good physically. It's just the way he's running in practice, the physicality, like the decisiveness. Ted, I love nothing more than a one cut back.
Oh yeah.
One cut and pour it downhill, young fella. And he's wearing the black cleats also, which is just such a sweet look. It is, I could not be more encouraged by what I've seen from Javonte Barnes up to this point. I don't know if it's going to be him or Sawchuk that runs out there first. I don't care. All I know is Javonte Barnes is looking the way that I thought he would
Yeah.
last year. And it just feels like everything is right for him right now. And he looks like he's going to be a massive, massive piece of this football team.
He's got that knee churn again, right? The knees are pumping and he's running behind his pads, looks aggressive. It's interesting. The call your shot, Javonte Barnes is the best back. And maybe he is, but like this is another thing. This is another like scrimmage thing. If a running back has the best couple of runs and is the best guy running the football, like do we factor in at all if someone gets beat in pass protection like 5 times to the quarterback and gives up a sack? Does that count as still
I
looks good? And I'm not saying that Javonte Barnes did that, or you know what I'm saying? It's like we only take the positive rushing gains that running backs
Yeah,
have.
what did he do with the ball in his hands?
Right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a fair point. I would say I know this. The running backs coach, I believe, is the best pass protecting running back I ever played with.
Yeah.
He cares about it a whole lot. If you can't protect, you cannot play for DeMarco
That's it.
Murray. If you
That's it.
don't know what you're doing in pass protection, you are putting the entire football team at risk because you're going to get the quarterback blasted. So the guys that DeMarco trusts to do all of the right things, those will be the guys that play. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Sawchuk, like, I know that Sawchuk is reliable. He may not be the biggest guy. He may not look the best in a jersey, but he knows exactly what he's doing when he's out there on the field. I cannot stress to people enough how valuable that is to a coach and to an entire coaching staff when you know you can put that guy out on the field and he knows exactly what he's doing. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about him. It's a tremendous feeling as a coach. And I'll be real, it's a tremendous feeling as a teammate.
Yep.
As a guy that
It's
was directing all the pass protection, I knew which running backs knew what they were doing, and I knew which running backs I had to turn around and say, hey, you've got that guy.
yeah, it's it's interesting because generally the way it's looked at is running backs run the football, right? And you have a couple of good runs or you put up big yards, you had a good game. And sacks go on the offensive line or the quarterback, but that's not always the case. And matter of fact, I mean, when you got blitz stuff happening, it's usually one of the guys that are getting attacked that don't protect every snap is a lot of times where the breakdown happens. But and then everyone wants to wonder why certain guys don't play. It's like, well, if we give up a sack every time they're in the game, it's a problem. And again, I'm not like pointing this at any one guy. I know that there's always a lot of talk about who looks the best running the football, and that is only half of the evaluation process.
No doubt. This other one comes from Florida Sooner, who says defense being dominant. It's why BV was hired. It's what was needed to move to the SEC successfully. It's a good way of looking at it, Florida Sooner.
Yeah.
I do think for the fan base's overall mental health, it's really important that this team plays really good defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all this talent back. You've got all these leaders back. It's clearly been the strength of the football team leading into the season. They need to go out there and play really good defense. Does it feel like there's a lot of, in a weird way, a lot of pressure on the defense, Ted? Does that make sense?
Yes,
I don't know
it
if that's the best way
does.
to put it, but it does feel like the expectations are this is going to be a defensive led football team.
Yeah. I don't know if I think that's a good pressure to have, but I mean, it's not going to change for them. It's going to be the same expectations no matter what. Um, get off the field, force turnovers, don't give up any big plays. Like that's the thing for them. Like the turnovers are going to be there, the sacks, the TFL stuff, the negative yardage plays. They're going to create those. Like the big thing for me is the explosive play. If they can limit the explosive plays, I think they're going to be in really, really good shape. That's the only thing that I worry about. It's going to be really hard to go 10 or 12 snaps on this defense and go punch a touchdown in. The drives they give up, I feel like, are probably going to be created by an explosive play here or there.
There you have it, people. How about let's do a little overreaction to an AP top 25 preseason AP top
Yes.
25. Yeah. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. Download the Love's Connect app today. It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
A lot of things are changing for OU football heading into the SEC, but one thing is remaining the same: the football. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown to order the official game ball of the Oklahoma Sooners, the Nike Vapor Elite, exclusively from Big Game Football Factory, is the only authentic football that OU will use on game day. It's got the OU and SEC logos on it. and is the perfect gift for any Sooner fan. Each ball comes with a certificate of authenticity to certify the football received was commissioned and created to the specifications requested by the Sooners. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown and order yours today.
That ball is sweet.
It is. It's
It's
awesome.
sweet.
I love
They
it.
sent us a couple. Look at that. That OU and SEC logo, that looks good.
It's got the red stitching outline
Oh,
and it's awesome.
I'll say it. That's a sexy football. I'm attracted to that football. We're also brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma owned drinkware company and number one drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. And this year, Simple Modern is now the official drinkware sponsor of University of Oklahoma Athletics. Keep on the lookout. You're sure to spot exclusive drinkware options at all home games so you can stay hydrated while supporting your favorite Oklahoma team. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also know you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. The preseason AP Top 25 was released this week. Let's run through it quickly, Ted.
Mm-hmm.
1, Georgia. 2, Ohio State. 3, Oregon. 4, Texas. 5, Alabama. 6, Ole Miss. 7, Notre Dame. 8, Penn State. 9, Michigan. 10, Florida State. Missouri at 11. Utah at 12. LSU at 13. Number 14 is Clemson. 15 is Tennessee. The Oklahoma Sooners check in at 16. Oklahoma State checks in at 17. Kansas State at 18. Miami at 19. Texas A&M at 20. Arizona at 21. Kansas at 22. USC at 23. NC State at 24. And Iowa at 25. Thoughts on the Sooners at 16, Ted?
I think it's about right. I think that's probably the spot they need to be. Um, they've got their questions. I mean, everyone's got the different stuff that they're working through, but I think that's a fair enough spot. They'll have plenty of opportunity to move up throughout the year. Pretty much play the top. Everyone ranked in front of them, they pretty much play. It feels like so. We'll have no worries about where we're ranked. Starting week 4, it's going to be on. You'll have a chance to move up big time week by week.
I normally, if OU's starting outside of the top 10, the fan base is not pleased. But I haven't seen much of a strong reaction to OU at 16. I think everyone looks at it and thinks about how year 1 went under BV and the improvement we saw last season. And now with, the new era in the SEC and some uncertainty on the offensive side of the ball, 16 feels, dare I say, 16 feels very fair for this football program. I did think, part of me did think you could see OU check in at like 20 because voters would look at the schedule and go, that is an absolute beast of a schedule. Let me rank them a little later so that my preseason AP top 25 maybe looks a little better if down the road OU drops some games during this difficult schedule. But it doesn't feel like that happened. This feels, once again, it feels very fair to Brent Venables and this football team.
I agree. I think it feels fair. And I maybe this is fairly normal, but this year it just seems a little bit different. But I think you could take pretty much number 6 all the way to about 18 or 19 and change those teams in any order that you want. And I think it's all about the same. I think most of those teams are going to be like, if you just played those teams together, I think most of them could beat each other on a given week, depending on where the game is played and maybe who's got a little bit more healthier football team. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between like where you've got Ole Miss at number 6 and a Tennessee or a Kansas State or a Clemson. I think Those teams are in the high teens. I don't think there's much of a difference there at all.
Utah at 12 is interesting to me. It's just they're technically the highest ranked Big 12 team. I just wonder if I feel like there is this, and they've got 9 starters back on that defense. Cam Rising is playing his 7th year of college football. They're getting Keithy, the tight end, back. I understand all of that. Whittingham's a hell of a football coach. But I don't know. I just get this sense that people think Utah's going to come into the Big 12 and just push everyone around. And I'm not sure that people have been watching that much Big 12 football the last couple of years. Like, if they think Utah's the only team that's getting in 12 personnel and running gap scheme runs, like, have they just not watched Kansas State,
Kansas.
Kansas with the versatility of that run game, Oklahoma State? Oklahoma State ran the hell out of the ball last year with Ollie Gordon.
We're about to do it again.
Yeah. So it's just I get this sense that some people still think that Utah's going into this air raid Big 12 and they're just going to push everyone around. All these teams they've never played before, all these road trips they've never made before. I don't know. I don't think Utah's going to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes me maybe I'm kind of on an island alone there, but I saw them at 12 and I've got no problem with them being at 12, but it just made me think, wow, they're the highest ranked Big 12 team. A lot of people think they're just going to walk into that conference and own it. And I don't think that's the way it's going to go down, man.
Well, I think the biggest thing about this year, and we've heard a ton of talk about Oklahoma's schedule, and rightfully so. But have you looked at Oklahoma State's schedule? Have you looked at Utah's schedule? Have you looked? I mean, everyone in college football, like the top 25 teams, everyone is playing like there's a couple of exceptions, but most people are playing the most difficult schedule that they've had in a long time. Most teams. Georgia included, Alabama included, Ohio State included, Oregon, Texas, everyone, they're all included, are playing the most difficult schedule that they've had in a long time.
Did you see the tweet from OU's glorious SID, Mike Hauk?
Yes, it did.
He put a tweet out, number of preseason AP top 15 football opponents on each SEC team's schedule. 6 for Oklahoma and Florida. OU's, all 6 are SEC teams. Florida's got 6, but one of them's Florida State. You've got 5 AP top 15 opponents for Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Vandy. 4 for Alabama, Kentucky, A&M. You got 3 for Auburn, 2 for LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas, and Missouri. Big winner. 1 AP top 15 opponent on Missouri's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many different ways we have to say this and explain it. The SEC did OU no favors with this schedule in the first 2 seasons. And that's the thing I got to continue to remind myself is we got the same slate next year. So it is, I mean, it's a beast of a schedule, man. I don't know what else to say about it. The SEC said, "Hey, Oklahoma football, what are you made of? We're about to find out."
Yep. Yep. But I mean, whenever you look at it there's a lot of schools that are going to play each other. Whenever you look at the top 15, the top 25, a lot of those schools play each other. And I don't think anyone's going to go undefeated this year. I don't.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I think both teams in the SEC championship game are going to have 2 losses.
I think that's totally reasonable.
Maybe that opinion would offend some people in Athens, Georgia. just with, I mean, that team has been an absolute regular season wagon the last couple of years. But I truly believe, especially the SEC and the Big Ten, but I think more the SEC, I think it's going to be like a mini NFL, man. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it may not feel good this season because there's going to be an adjustment period for all of us. But I think SEC fan bases are going to come to appreciate a 10-2 season and be like, oh my gosh, that was a hell of a year.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe it ends up being an 11-1 team versus a 10-2 team. I guess that's possible. I could see Georgia going at 11-1, although their schedule is really hard, man. Their road games, their schedule is an absolute beast when you look at the road games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really think it could be two 10-2 teams in the SEC championship game. That will not surprise me at all.
You could probably say the same thing for the Big 12.
Oh yeah.
Um, Big 10, I feel like maybe a little bit more spread out with the Big 10, but not much. Not much. So, yeah, it's going to be a totally different year for a bunch of reasons. Bunch of new conference stuff obviously across the country. Playoff stuff obviously is going to be different. So, I think your records are going to look totally different, but I think all that ends up being a good thing.
Georgia has Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss all on the road. True road games. I don't care how good you've been. That's tough, man.
Well, they haven't had a schedule that's looked like that.
No, they haven't.
Alabama's schedule hasn't looked like it's looked.
That's why that's why I think this is going to be ridiculously fun and entertaining. But I also think people are going to lose more games, Oklahoma included. I'm putting us in that group. Like it's just going to be. I think it's going to be hyper competitive, and I think that it's going to take all us fan bases that are used to really successful seasons to adjust. I don't want to say adjust expectations, but just maybe define what like a new definition of a successful season. Like in the NFL, if you start the season 10-2, your fan base is riding high, baby. Like you are ecstatic if you are a 10-2 football team through your first 12 games in the NFL. And I don't see with how much talent is in these conferences, what these schedules look like, especially in the SEC. I just think it's going to feel more like that than oh my gosh, we didn't go undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah, it's going to be much less about what your record is and way more about did you make the 12-team playoff or not?
And is your football team healthy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your quarterback healthy? I mean, think of all the NFL teams where it's like, please just get to the playoffs with them
No
healthy.
kidding. Like you go 10 wins in the NFL, you're in the playoffs. I guess there's maybe some exceptions to that, but like we're good. We're good. We'll see what happens now that we're in the dance.
Just think NFL fan bases, you go 10-7, you make the playoffs, you're feeling great. I mean, the college football equivalent of that, Georgia's fan base, they're all going to want to fire Kirby Smart. It's
Yeah.
just
Could you handle an 8-4 season if you made the playoff? Can you handle that? Is that something that you could deal with?
maybe, and it may sound crazy, but that's what we all need to get used to. I don't
I
know.
know.
We're about to find out over these next couple years, right? We kind of have 2
Yep.
years of this 12-team playoff situation. Maybe there's some more conference realignment, but I don't know. I feel like we're all going to have to slightly adjust what a successful season is if you're in the SEC.
Yeah.
Looking at the AP top 25, Ted, any team that really stood out to you where you're like, man, they're ranked too high?
Ole Miss. I just I and I may end up being totally wrong on this. but I don't trust the bring in a bunch of 1 year players and expect it to just totally click. Now I know of all the teams in the SEC, like their schedule ended up looking pretty good for them, but I don't know. I'm not and I think Lane Kiffin is a good coach, but I think he's a good coach in the right circumstances. He's been able to he's been able to be fun and low pressure, maybe try and win a big game here or there, but no one's too upset as long as you're competitive. Well, all of a sudden that's changed and the pressure is totally different. And you brought in all these 1 year, 2 year players, transfer portal guys. I'm not sold that it's just going to go as smoothly as a lot of people think. I mean, look where they're placed. You got Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, and then Ole Miss thrown in there between Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Florida State. I mean, it's weird. Like a lot of those teams have something to back it up. You know, Georgia, as good as they've been recently, obviously. Ohio State's been really good. Oregon is on a move. Texas is on a move. Alabama was, overtime with the national champion last year in the playoff. I don't know. I feel like Ole Miss sticks out in that group at the top 10 like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
They've
And
never, they haven't done anything that any of those other teams have really accomplished.
they have, I mean, they've gone all in on
Yeah.
this season. And I don't know if the expectation is to win the SEC, but I think the expectation is to make the 12 team playoff.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it comes out, they really have, I mean, when you look at their road games, like they go to Baton Rouge on October 12th, which by the way is just going to be an incredible day of college football. Same OU Texas the same day. It's going to be an awesome day of college football. But that's really their big road game. I mean, they got to go in. South Carolina's not an easy place to play, and I don't know, Fayetteville and Gainesville. I don't think either of those teams are going to be very good, but
I think Florida's going to be way better than a lot of people think they are. I
I
mean,
hope you're right.
I don't think it's going to be reflected in what their win loss says, but I think they're going to be. I mean,
People
maybe
talk
let's.
about Florida right now like they're the old Kansas in the Big 12.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like they may end up being 6-6. I don't know, but they're not going to look like most 6-6 football teams in college football. It's just it's a different type of team that they get talked about like there's no talent on the team, like they're Vanderbilt, and that's not what they are.
The reality is they may be one of the best 25 to 30 teams in college football, and they're going to be 5-7, 6 and
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
That's just life in one of these new super conferences, man. It's just we'll see. They're scheduled their last 5 weeks. Oh my gosh.
Brutal, brutal.
As far as looking at the AP poll, Notre Dame at 7, and hear me out. Is Riley Leonard going to be an upgrade from Sam Hartman at the quarterback position? Probably. I don't know. I get the feeling that people don't know that Riley Leonard did not exactly light it up throwing the football last year at Duke. And he can really, really run, but he's coming off a significant injury. I don't know. I just don't know. Are the expectations too high for him and what he can do to elevate that offense? I do expect the defense to be good, but when I when I see a team that's ranked number 7 in the preseason poll, I think that team should be at least capable of winning a national title. Is that fair? And I don't think Notre Dame's capable of winning a national title.
I don't know that that's fair.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out quick what they're
Well,
made of.
do you
They go to
think?
College Station week one.
Well, do you think Ole Miss is capable of winning a national title?
Maybe I think they're more capable than Notre Dame.
Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State are kind of right there in a row, 6, 7, 8. And I wouldn't pick any of them. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I guess with the 12-team playoff, it makes things a little bit more gray as to because in the 14 playoff, it's like I see Georgia is the only team that's capable of winning a national championship. It's like the whole
But
dynamic has changed. I don't know how to necessarily view it right now, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
maybe I should have gone with Clemson. I don't know. Clemson at 14, maybe that's right, but I just think I continue to believe that if you are not doing everything you can to make your football team as good as possible, you're just not setting your team up for success. And I know you look at their roster, they got a really talented roster. They've recruited well, but have we seen any reason to believe with what we've seen from Cade Klubnik? The defense, I assume, is going to be good. They've been good for a long time on defense. But I mean, everything coming out of Clemson is they're relying on Bryant Wesco, like this true freshman, to be this dynamic playmaker for him at wide receiver. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence for me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I
Well,
could see that opener against Georgia going really, really poorly
I agree.
and people having a rather different opinion of Clemson. I don't know. 14's probably right, but I could see Clemson. I just don't think what should make me believe that they're not just going to be like a 15 to 20 football team for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future if Dabo Swinney's not doing everything he can do to make that roster as good as possible. I don't know, man. I think they finish closer to 25 than they do to 1.
You may be right. I will say this though for Clemson, and I really I don't know a whole lot about them, but I don't know that Dabo's approach is as crazy as it looks. How many teams have how many teams have really shot themselves in the foot development wise by going through the transfer portal? And you know, I think we've found ourselves in that problem to some degree on the offensive line. It's like you run out of guys that are developed in your system. The young guys haven't had opportunities, and I don't know. I think it's. I'm glad he's doing it the way he is. So there's like that control group. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is it better to go transfer portal or is it better just to stick with the guys that you recruited? He's the control group of college football, and we'll see how it works. I don't know. I mean, I can see I could see his viewpoint on it. It's just, can you win games that way? Well, time will tell.
Look at you busting out some scientific method, but to drop a hypothesis on us. Look at you go.
Yes,
I
yes.
I think Clemson. I'm just not high on them with the way that Dabo's running things. I I can't believe I'm going to say this. I saw Miami at 19, and I went, maybe it's a little too low. I I think I'm starting to believe in Mario Cristobal and that staff putting everything together there at Miami. I think there's an argument that they're the most talented team in the ACC and the only team with a higher blue chip ratio in the ACC than them is Clemson. I think the question is how big of a difference maker is Cam Ward at the quarterback position for him? I mean, how long has it been since Miami had a good quarterback?
Uh, a
If
really long time, which is one of the reasons it's hard to, until you see it, And it may not even be just a one, like you got to see maybe something sustained from them to have any confidence, putting them high at all. I don't know. It has been a long time.
If Mario could just not make the couple of game management blunders that we have come to expect from him each season, I don't know. It really feels like their season comes down to two games at Florida in the opener, and then they've got Florida State on October 26th. If Cam Ward is that dude, then I think they are a talented football team and have a good chance to win the ACC, and maybe a team that ends up finishing in more in the top 10 as opposed to closer to 20 like they are checking in at 19 in the preseason poll. I don't know. I'm starting to believe in Miami, and I don't like it at all, Ted.
No, I hear you.
I've
Let me
watched
ask
too
you,
many Cam Ward highlights.
uh, what do you think about Kansas at 22? If Jalen Daniels is healthy throughout the season, I I think
I
that they may be a little too low.
I could see it both ways. Kotelnicki left. He's a Penn State. To say that I love that man's offense is an understatement.
I know.
Now they are, and I talked to Lance Leipold about it a while back. Like they are carrying over a lot of what they did, but it's hard to replace a creative guy like that. It
That's
just
true.
is. And Jalen Daniels, he hasn't been like the track record of health has not been great. There's Jason
No,
Bean. He's not walking through that
he's
door.
not there. Yep.
He's running QB runs for Shane Steichen in Indianapolis right now, and he looks great. But I am I'm still skeptical with Kansas because of the defense.
Yeah.
Until I see them play a higher level of defense, and it's gotten better, but I don't know. It's just hard to believe that they're going to go win the Big 12 if they can't play a little better defense. But I
Yeah.
think 22 is about right.
Is Iowa too high at 25?
I I don't know. Big shakeup at offensive coordinator. What's it going to look like?
I know.
I know
They
this.
here's
That defense is going to be legit.
There is not a single team in college football that has benefited from the division system more than Iowa in the Big Ten. And that is about to change for them in a big way.
I don't think they're going to like it. I don't
No,
know.
they're not going to like it.
They are. This is what I know about Iowa. They are going to play really good defense, and their fans are going to be pissed off about what their offense.
Yep. Checks out.
I just hope we're not Iowa this season. Uh, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first,
Oh, you tailgaters, listen up. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch's steak burgers will take your tailgate to the next level. They ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans can get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The Sooners are playing in the premium conference in college football now, so they need premium crowd fueled by some premium quality beef. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
and head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they're honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, I had to go with Tennessee because they got it right. We got some new rules in NCAA. The naming rights for your field and for your stadium. And we've seen some stuff in the past that's pretty ridiculous. They were able to pull it off to keep the Neyland Stadium name. They've partnered with Pilot and they've worked it out to where they're going to have some branding up, but they're not outright changing the name of the stadium because we've seen some ridiculous stuff in the past.
It will be Neyland Stadium. It will remain Shield Watkins Field. And Pilot is designated as the presenting partner of the Neyland Stadium renovation project, and they're the official travel stop of Tennessee athletics.
It's no big deal. It's about what, $350 million renovation project they got going on.
Neyland Stadium, home of the Vols, proudly preserved by Pilot. I can't believe I've said Pilot so many times in the last 30 seconds. I knew this was coming. I've had many conversations about logos being put on fields in college football, logos being put on stadiums. I think this is inevitable basically for every team in the SEC and the Big Ten, maybe every team in the Power Four, because it's just
Free money.
another way for programs to make money. I mean, it seems like an easy revenue stream, and I don't see why you wouldn't do it. I mean, FIU, it's Pitbull Stadium now, man.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. International.
I don't see why this isn't going to happen everywhere, right? We've got patches on NBA jerseys, we've got patches on Major League Baseball jerseys. We've got, I mean, don't even get started. European soccer, right? You may not know the team, but you know the logo on the front of it. It feels inevitable, Ted.
It's coming to jerseys too.
Oh, yeah. I would expect,
it's coming to jerseys.
I would expect like in the NBA, a jersey patch.
Yeah.
That's kind of, whether it's on the shoulder or the chest, I'm not sure. But if I was the company, I'd want it on the shoulder because of how games are broadcast. But it doesn't bother me at all. It may bother some college football fans, like the biggest college football purists, but like, if the Brahms logo or whoever put a giant logo on Owen Field, would that bother me at all? I don't think it would. Just as long as it's nothing stupid. Let's not make it anything stupid.
Yeah, I think
clearly I'll be lobbying for the Loves logo. I mean, come on.
Well, yes. It's just it's I people don't like it. I understand why they don't like it, but it's something that you very quickly get used to and don't really notice. But I mean, you got patches on the Yankees jersey, the Lakers jersey. I mean, the iconic stuff, and you get used to it. I get it, man. You feel like you want the plain jerseys, the plain field, the plain stadium, but it's all about revenue, man. They got to grow the revenue. Find new avenues to grow revenue, and real estate on the jersey, real estate on the field to throw advertising on. That's big time money, and it's just too easy. It's going to happen whether you like it or not.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I will say this. Is it weird that I'll be disappointed if OU doesn't do it at some point? I don't know. Maybe it's not till next season, but it kind of goes back to what I said about Dabo Swinney. Like, if you're not exhausting every resource to make your football team as good as possible, then what are we doing? And if a partnership with the company put their logo on Owen Field gets the football program more money that they can spend on whatever, recruiting, NIL, transfer port, whatever, then you do it. That's just the way that I see it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it, it's always been an arms race in college football. We've gone through different eras, and we went through the facilities upgrade era where, you know, everyone's locker is on a rocket ship that can shoot you all over the state or something. It's like all these things that you don't need. But it's the only way that you could really flex. And now, like, the new race is NIL. How much can you pay your players? And so the money's always going to matter. It's just where it's going has changed a little bit. So yeah, it's inevitable. I don't think it's that big of a deal as long as it's done right. Like, I think Pitbull Stadium is perfect for FIU, would not be perfect for an Ohio State or an Alabama or an Oklahoma, but you can find the right companies that fit those states, and like the branding that everyone in that area knows and is comfortable with, and it's not going to be a big deal. Matter of fact, it might be something that you're proud of.
Pitbull Stadium had people talking about FIU football more than we've ever talked about it.
Yeah.
And people are still talking about it and will continue to talk about it as Pitbull rolls out his performances and stuff for those games. He's making an anthem for
Oh,
them.
that's awesome.
I loved that. And I've, looking at the Pilot and Tennessee deal, I think it makes a lot of sense as well. Just one reminder, don't get your gas at Pilot. Get your gas at Love's, people. You know who owns Pilot now, Ted?
Well, is it not? Was it not Haslam? Did they sell out?
Sold out to Berkshire. Warren Buffett owns it. Warren Buffett doesn't need your money, people. Get your gas at Love's.
Yeah, he owns everything. No big deal.
Get your gas at Love's. Who do you have as your loser of the week?
Man, I had to go with Texas, and I am not. I'm not happy about this. I'm not cheering it on. I'm not rolling around in their pain at all. But they've had another running back go down, and it's getting thin really quick for them. And you kind of see this going on across the country. We've had our injury. Jayden Gibson goes down. That's a big loss for us. And that's the thing in training camp. It's almost the no news is good news, kind of like the rest of the offseason, because it's typically a big time injury. But now they've lost Christian Clark. Baxter went down, and now Christian Clark, I believe it's an Achilles. So they've gotten even thinner there. He was one of the young true freshmen that they thought was going to be able to maybe perhaps bounce in there and be able to carry the football for them. Carry some of the burden that was left by Baxter injury. So they're even more thin now. And, it's to the point where sometimes you get so thin at a position group, and it can affect the way the football team practices throughout training camp.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And all of a sudden, a lot of pressure on Jarrett Gibson, who I don't know how big of a factor he was going to be. He was, I think, the third ranked running back in his recruiting class, true freshman, extremely talented guy. I mean, there's just no denying that. But there's one thing when you just get to kind of ease a freshman into a season at the running back position versus, hey, man, you're the backup week 2 against Michigan on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to ask even of a guy as talented as Gibson. So you look at Texas's situation. I think one of the reasons people were so high on Texas is the offense, right? You got Ewers back. You got a solid group of O linemen back, led by Kelvin Banks. They filled holes in the wide receiver core through the portal, but you can't run the football, man, I don't. They have three scholarship running backs on the roster right now.
It's going to be tough, especially that game when they're going on the road to Michigan. I don't know what to expect from Michigan on offense, but defensively, they're going to be good. That front seven for them is going to be outstanding. Really good across the defensive line, good at backer, and it could be difficult to run the football. And Quinn Ewers, if you're sitting in third and long a bunch against that Michigan defense, not what you want.
I will be beyond impressed if Texas can move Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham off the football and run it efficiently in that game.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the best defensive tackle duo in all of college football. Both of those guys are physical freaks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're down your starter, and I'm not sure if Christian Clark was going to be in the mix, but dude, I feel so bad for him because he's a highly recruited guy, and Achilles just you think about how far that sets you back in your development as a player.
It's such a rare injury for college players. I mean, that's usually
Yeah,
an older player thing in basketball and in football. So I hate that for him.
me
But
too.
I say that only to say, like, maybe as a younger player, it's maybe going to be easier to bounce back from.
Down to three scholarship running backs, down the starter.
Hmm.
A lot of pressure on Quinn Ewers to deliver.
Yep.
We'll see. Let's finish up with my winner and loser. But first,
Insurica launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered from small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
And celebrate with the Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you could join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
For my winner of the week, thought about going with the NCAA. Ted, the NCAA needs any little win they can get. And Jim Harbaugh called Sharon Moore and has backed out of being the honorary captain for Michigan's opener. Said he wants to focus on the Chargers, going to focus on the NFL team that he's coaching.
Loser.
Now, he is sending his mom and dad to stand in his place, which is fantastic. But this does Harbaugh not showing up and being this giant middle finger to the NCAA, it does feel in a weird way like a small win for the NCAA, which at this point they can take any small win they can get.
They're going to throw him up on the Jumbotron and he's going to throw double birds to the NCAA in a little video message, or just
I'm
cut
not
down to,
ruling
is it
anything
Jack?
out.
Is that his dad, Jack
Yeah,
Harbaugh? Just cut down to Jack and let Jack be the spokesman.
we'll see. But hey, congrats, NCAA. I guess that's good for you. But my winner of the week, Jerry Jones. We've been giving Jerry Jones a hard time on here for the CD Lamb contract situation. And let me make myself clear. Jerry, pay the man his money. He's one of the best in the league. Pay the man his money. Stop it. But Jerry Jones may have had the best week of anyone in the United States. Did you see the Sportico list of valuations of the NFL teams?
Yes, I did.
For those of you that didn't, the Dallas Cowboys checking in at $10.32 billion dollars, the first ever sports franchise with a valuation over $10 billion dollars. And they are so far ahead of second place, which is the Rams at 7.79. The Cowboys, $10.32 billion valuation. The Rams at 7.79. The Giants at 7.65. The Pats at 7.31. And the 49ers at 6.68. Good for you, Jerry Jones. I mean, as far as I can tell, this is the Cowboys are their business, and business is good for the Joneses.
It is. Uh, I always talk about this. People get lost in the business aspect of it from time to time. The point of owning an NFL franchise is not to win Super Bowls. It is to make money. Okay. Now, one of the best ways to make money is by winning Super Bowls and having your team relevant and having your brand constant, like going to the Super Bowl and making it through the playoffs. Like that brand recognition that you get from that is you can't put a price tag on it. But Jerry Jones has perfected, it's almost, you get talked about more by just not quite being good enough than if you are good enough. Because, like, if you're looking at this overseas, you would say, oh my gosh, the Dallas Cowboys must have won 3 out of the last 5 Super Bowls to be that worth that much money. Nope.
It's been the 90s, man. I mean, it's been a really, really long time.
95, is that right?
6,
96?
96.
Long time.
I bring this up.
It was back when starter jackets were still cool.
Well,
You know,
starter jackets are still cool, Ted. I mean,
are
come
they?
on. Yeah. Oh yeah. I
Okay.
think if you pull the kids, starter jackets are still they're vintage now, man. They're
Oh,
hot. People
because I was
can't.
about to say, like, can you still get, or is it still a thing to even be able to pick those up?
I think some people are kind of emulating the look, and it may be starter. Like, but it's back, dude. It is like that
Okay.
type of jacket, that look,
What'd
along
you
with like
have? Did you have one?
I had a North Carolina starter jacket, which I
Okay.
wore in you know the youth track meets when the baseball throw is an event.
Yeah.
I was the reigning baseball champion. I thought it was going to be really cool to wear my starter jacket to throw in the baseball throw, and I lost by a couple feet because I had a giant puffy starter jacket on, and I was heartbroken.
I had a Notre Dame, and then I had a green, like a uh, green and black Green Bay Packers, which you may make like jump to some conclusion about my fandom. No, I got the whatever was on sale was the jackets I was able to get. So, but I loved them.
We we had this weird thing in my household. It was college basketball, and it was when like Antoine Jameson, and then it was Vince Carter. Like I was in North Carolina. I was a diehard OU football fan, but it wasn't for whatever reason. It wasn't that way in basketball. And my oldest brother, was a Duke fan,
Mm-hmm.
and my middle brother was a Georgetown fan, and I was a North. We had this like weird Big East ACC now thing going on. I don't know. It was strange. In
That's
hindsight, it
funny.
makes no sense. I don't know how our parents allowed that to happen. It's bad parenting.
Mm, it's pretty good.
10.32 billion for the Cowboys.
Dang,
Jerry,
just cash it
Jerry,
in, baby.
your team is worth $10 billion. Pay CeeDee Lamb his money.
Pay the man.
Hell, pay Dak Prescott what he wants to. Your team is worth $10 billion, Jerry. You'll be fine.
No excuses.
My loser of the week, JJ McCarthy. And maybe it should be Minnesota Vikings fans, but I watched a lot of that preseason game. McCarthy looked good
That's what I've
against the
heard.
Raiders. Had a couple of really nice long touchdown passes, looked sharp, making quick decisions. It was, it was a really encouraging performance for him. And it turns out he tore his meniscus in the game.
Hmm.
And he's going to have surgery. Unclear if he'll be out, half the season, the entire season. It doesn't sound like they really know until they open him up and see what's going on with that meniscus. But Sam Darnold was most likely going to be the starter. But Ted, it did seem like one of those situations where maybe you got to a point in the season, you reevaluated things depending on how things were going from a win-loss perspective, and then McCarthy kind of takes the reins. Right? That feels like a very, very reasonable formula for them when you draft a guy with the 10th pick overall. But now it doesn't seem like that's an option. If this is as significant as it sounds, and we'll see if he makes it back at all. But now, if you're a Vikings fan, hey, you're rolling with Sam Darnold. Good luck.
Yeah.
I think Nick Mullins is their backup, and Jaron Hall, BYU's finest. It's not a great QB situation there in Minnesota. I don't know if McCarthy was going to play a ton. I have no idea, but for a fan base, this feels deflating.
Yeah, he was looking pretty good from the stuff I had saw, read a little bit on it, and because there's actually a bunch of quarterback battles in the NFL this year. There's a bunch of like some teams that are unsure who the starter's going to be. So that was one of them, and it's a setback. But I don't know, meniscus probably, unless there's something else going on there, pretty strong chance that he'll be back at some point this season. And I don't know. Darnold's not a bad option, but it's probably one of those things where it's like, can't we do better than Kirk Cousins? Can't we? Not as easy as you think.
Not as easy as you think. And one reason I just feel bad for Vikings fans? They are being robbed of when Sam Darnold is sucking, they don't get to yell to put McCarthy in.
Yeah.
Which, when your quarterback is not playing well and you've got this bright, shiny new toy on the bench, that's like one of the most fun things as a fan base is to say, hey, put JJ in. Darnold, you suck. They don't even get
Put
to
the
do
num
that. He's
put
not
the
even
number
available.
yeah, put the first rounder in. It just put Jaron Hall in doesn't have the same, like you're probably not going to be able to get as many people behind that one. That's one of the best things as a fan is being able to really pull for the backup quarterback. Always the most popular guy on the team.
One last thing on the McCarthy situation. He posted on X, love you, Viking Nation. I'll be back in no time. Amor Fati. F
Hmm.
A T I. I saw this tweet. It was on my timeline. And I go, oh, the knee injury must be bad. And then I go, what the hell does Amor Fati mean?
Hmm.
And that led me down a rabbit hole, Ted. Latin phrase, love of fate. This is according to Wikipedia, the most reliable source on the interweb. Describes an attitude in which one sees everything that happens in one's life, including suffering and loss, as good or at least necessary.
Huh.
That's deep stuff, man. I know JJ McCarthy, he's into all the meditation and all that stuff. This guy's got layers, man. That's some deep stuff.
Hmm.
How you feel about that? Guys out here, I think it's a lot of people attribute it to like Nietzsche.
Yeah.
How do you feel about JJ McCarthy out here referencing Nietzsche?
Time is a flat circle. Yeah. Um, I don't know.
Is JJ McCarthy too deep to be a successful NFL quarterback? My column.
I'm just wondering, are his wires crossed a little bit? What's the point in the meditation if you're already locked into fate?
Mm. If you are you saying if you think everything's already decided for you, what's the point of trying to focus?
What mindset are you trying to change to?
Interesting.
Or maybe that's your meditation is just the acceptance of fate. I don't know. Huh. Something to think about.
Birthday shout outs. I wanted there to be a long, awkward pause there where people go, wait, did it cut out? Is
What
it
was that?
is it off? What happened? Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world. Awesome. Welcome to the world. Cooper Stafford.
Happy 5th birthday to Luke Stafford.
Happy 16th birthday to Blake Martin.
Happy 21st birthday to Jacob Harrison.
Happy 67th birthday to Leland Searcy.
Happy birthday to Arij Nawafle. Nawafle.
I think it's one of those things. I think you nailed it.
Okay.
And happy 4th anniversary to Ethan and Sarah Winter. On that note, episode 448 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening and do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.